Hello.
What's good? What's good? What's good?
Nothing much. Nothing much. How about you?
Doing great, man. Just daily grind, just working.
No. Yeah. So would you like to introduce yourself real quick to our viewers?
Yeah, yeah. My name is Drew the Kiiid. That's Drew the K triple ID. A lot of people sometimes put one or two eyes as three eyes, and I try to stress that. But yeah, man, I'm a 23-year-old, artist, engineer, producer, writer, from Chicago, and yeah, I got a lot of cool stuff coming up and a lot of cool stuff under my belt. So I'm excited to just keep going, and I appreciate y'all for having me on.
No. Thank you for joining tonight. Someone comments already talking about music and how it's kind of affected. I like. I'm. I listen to your biography like all on my phone.
Thank you, thank you. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that, especially the early music, because the project we're working on now is a very uh it's a very collaborative effort.
So,
And when you listen to something like intro, that was kind of like that's my baby, that's my project, because like I had to do pretty much everything on my own outside of like just like production and stuff. Like a lot of the production was me and the producers that I worked with. But as far as like the writing, the vocal processing, the mixing, the mastering, the recording, everything from top to bottom was just solo dolo me. So it was a very unique experience. It was like a rite of passage. But I appreciate you for saying that, because that project mean a lot to me for sure.
no. And well, again, recommend everyone have drop your socials at the end so that
Yeah.
they can go check you out. But let's kind of so I introduction. But kind of how to get into the music world.
I pretty much got into the music world, uh, just showing up. I think that's what a lot of people got to do
Yeah.
more. Um, I mean, obviously, you want to, perfect your craft, which I was able to do as well. But yeah, like when I first started, um, anytime I had an opportunity, I would try to pull up. Or like if somebody was like, "Yo, like we're doing this," I'm there. And I've always tried to keep that consistent, throughout my career. But um, I feel like if like you find a group of people that's kind of like your people, no matter where you at. Because I went to high school in Miami, so it's like me
Okay.
going to high school in Miami was where I actually started making music. I was playing baseball from ages like 3 to 16, so it was like 13 years of just baseball. I thought that was gonna be my career.
Oh,
Um, and then I get to Miami, and I kind of fall out of love with the sport, and I transition over to music because it was always kind of my second
yeah.
passion. In the background, I was in choir. When I was in, I think I joined choir like third grade, and I did it all the way through, like up until my freshman
Okay.
year.
Yeah.
Uh, I started writing when I was like 8 years old. My mother, she was a rapper, and she went on tour with like Ice Cube and Too Short and a
Wow.
bunch of other people. And my stepdad was like an audio engineer. So it's like I've been exposed to
Yeah.
to music very early. And then my grandmother and my aunt also being, my grandmother being a songwriter, who had like a crazy house song back in the 80s. And then my aunt, she's still performing that song to this day, they well into their, 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
So it's just cool to see that. And I think that was always kind of something that told me, like I should have something to do, with this industry, with this sector.
Right.
And like it became a passion for me, once I started singing and writing. It was a really cool experience. But fast forward, I'm 16 now. I'm doing music in Miami, um, kind of figuring out how to like reinvent myself essentially. And then I get with people who also had a common goal in mind, which was just to, you're not really doing it for the money at that point, because
Right.
you don't really see that yet.
Yeah.
So you just kind of just doing it to just get better and to kind of pass time. And I'm very grateful that it stuck with me, because even when I moved back to Chicago, in the middle of my senior year, so I still had like a whole nother semester of high school,
Yeah.
and I came back to Chicago kind of with this newfound identity, and kind of kind of trying to navigate, this new space of who I am. I had to once again show up and find people who had, a similar mentality, which I did. Got with a mentor. His name was Nick Keenan. He worked in the sync space and was also a producer. And he would tell me to pull up to the studio. I'm like, I'm dropping everything that I'm doing. I'm walking to the studio in my flip flops. It's pouring rain. You know what I'm saying? I'm finessing parking garages,
Yeah.
all types of stuff. Whatever I got to do
Right.
to be able to get there. And I did that over and over and over and over again. And you build up connections, and you meet new people who can put you in the position to be able to showcase your talent, or perform in a sense of, I got my first sync opportunity when I was like 18, 19, just from being around the studio and being open to introducing myself to people and taking people's contacts. So there's so many ways to go about it, but for me, I think I kind of broke it down to a philosophy, or two philosophies. One I call the yes no philosophy, which is always say yes until you can't no more, and never say no unless you have to. And I've kind of like lived by that
Yeah.
since even before I started making music. That was just for my life, and that's always served me pretty well.
Yeah.
And then the second philosophy just being, you make the connection, you build the rapport, and then you nurture the relationship. And you do that with everyone. You treat if it's a CEO or if it's a custodian. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter who it is. You make the connection, and you're gonna build that rapport, and you're gonna nurture that relationship, so that you can be in the front of their mind. And I see somebody saying, talk more about sync. That kind of sync is all relationships. It's
Yeah.
more, in my opinion, it's more about the
Okay.
relationships than it is the music. Because it's like, there's so many talented
Right.
people out here. And it's like, but if you're not in the front of somebody's mind, if you're not in the front of a music supervisor's mind, or a executive
Right.
producer or creative director's mind, they're not gonna call you up to do that brief. They're not gonna call you up to come into the studio and record whatever. So I've gotten so many opportunities just from being
Yeah.
prevalent in somebody's mind, to where it's like they thought of me. Like even today, funny enough, because I haven't really worked on like anything sync related
Okay.
in a minute, just because I've been
Okay.
working on my project. But randomly today, one of my old coworkers, because I'm a copywriter by day,
Oh, okay.
and this is a whole different industry. I mean, it's advertising, but it's still a different industry, because
Yeah.
um, I was working at a mortgage company. I was doing marketing for a mortgage company called Guaranteed Rate. And one of my coworkers from there was like, "Yeah, my boyfriend is working on like a radio spot, and they needed a rapper for it. And you just popped in my head, and I showed them the
Yeah.
music, and now they want to do the demo." So I got an opportunity
Yeah.
just from not being scared to tell people that this is what I do, and I'm proud of the way that I do it, and I know that I'm confident that I could do a great job at it,
Yeah.
and then showing people that I can do a great job at it, and then also checking in and making sure that
Yeah.
people can see that I've been progressing and evolving over time, and boom, you get hit up out of the blue for different types of things. So yeah, I know that was
No,
long winded, but
no.
yeah.
You're giving great, because no, I mean that having the surrounding, I guess that foundation of
Hmm.
who are kind of in the music scene, or just in tune with music, no pun intended, um
Yeah.
is just like really cool. And then I really like your yes no philosophy. That's great. Your two
Yeah.
philosophies. You're right.
And
I
I
mean,
mean,
those are life.
yeah, I'm not like somebody. I'm sure that's not an original thought. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure that's not like something that I
I mean,
invented.
yeah, okay,
But it's just like I feel like for me, and I'm
right,
sure this applies to a lot of other creatives,
yeah,
or just not just musicians, but creatives in general. Whether you're a dancer, whether you're a copywriter, whether you're a graphic designer, whether you're a musician, it's like I feel like if you put things into kind of like um into like a, what's the word of it? Is it is it mnemonic? I don't know. It's one of
yeah.
those things. But if you kind of like put things
No, yeah,
into an
yeah, yeah,
easily
yeah.
memorable, a very
Right,
memorable like pattern
yeah,
or structure, I feel like it's so much easier to execute that. To where it's like I don't think to myself, follow the yes no philosophy, but I think to myself like, do what you've been doing,
right,
which is A, B, and C, and then it kind of just happens naturally, and it's kind of like muscle memory at that point.
yeah,
So I feel like, yeah, definitely. come up with your own solutions, come up with your own patterns, and different ways of going about execution, so that you can do that more often. Because I feel like the more you do that, the easier it becomes.
No,
So
yeah, that's again, that yeah, I think you're correct. Just general good idea to have kind of like a mantra, a way of carrying yourself through
right,
life, and that helps with going into career, um, going into things where you're being vulnerable because you're doing something creative, just in general. Um,
right,
I
right.
transition a little bit because you said it a while ago, but your artist name, is there a specific story? Like, was that part of your kind of rediscovery journey? Or was that kind of a later thing?
Yeah, yeah. So I gotta. So all right. Funny enough, let me start
Okay,
from
okay,
this. So
okay.
when I first started pursuing I guess a career, not even a career, but just like, it's almost like it's an origin story. When
Yeah.
you see a lot of any superhero, they
Right.
like, for some, I feel like that's not talked about enough.
No.
That these people, it's like you kind of get superpowers, and then immediately they like, okay, what's my name and my brand, right?
Oh.
And I've been marketing and business minded from the jump. Like, even before I started pursuing music, I've always, you know I've been an entrepreneur of since, like, I started my first business when I was 15.
Oh
Taught
wow.
myself like e-commerce. I was like reselling sneakers, anything that I could do to like kind of like scratch
Right.
that itch of
Yeah.
entrepreneurship. So it was like, when I started getting into that world of business, and then I started pursuing music, it kind of merged seamlessly. It
Oh,
was like a perfect segue
yeah.
to where it's like now I have this unique opportunity to become like a walking brand. Now I can build a persona, and connect it to my real life. So that was very fun, and that was a journey of self discovery, because usually when you're building a business or you're trying to market something, it's usually separated from people. You're trying to resonate with people, but
Right.
now you are a person
Right.
who has to discover themselves in order to resonate with people on a higher level. So it was like when I talk about this origin story, quote unquote. It's like I was like, okay, who am I? What do I want to be? I was like, I want to remain authentic. I want to make sure that I don't want to have a gimmicky name. I don't want to have something that I can't stand behind.
Right.
And so first it was my initials, and my initials is ADD,
Okay.
right? And that just, for so many reasons, that just didn't work. Like, I wanted it to stick, it just
No.
wasn't
Yeah.
sticking. I was like, all right, let me change this. Um, switch that to just no, I switched that to Drew Noir, right? And
Okay.
then Drew Noir was a name. It sounded like mysterious, and it was like at the time I was making I was heavily influenced just by Drake and in the
Oh.
Toronto sound, because like me not being in Chicago, I was just kind of like
Yeah.
not not trying to rediscover my identity outside of
Yeah.
Chicago, but just like I really became in tune with disconnecting from any labels on myself, and just like, what do I
Yeah.
like in my daily life. And I was a huge Drake fan, you know what I'm saying? And that whole Toronto sound was just so innovative, to where they music sounded like the weather. It sounded like the city. It was just kind of like gloomy, and I was like, yo, I love this. So I
Yeah.
was like Drew Noir for a minute. And I was like, yeah, this is cool. And I was trying to run with it. And it didn't feel authentic.
Yeah.
And that became prevalent to me when I came back to Chicago. When I came back to Chicago and I was around a majority of my family again, I was around some old friends. I kind of, the light got shined on what my true identity was again. I was like, yo, like, I kind of didn't forget myself, but it was a survival tactic to reinvent myself over and over again when you move
Oh.
around a lot. And I feel like a lot of kids who switch schools or switch locations a lot earlier in life, they could relate to that, to where it's
Yeah.
like you always trying to pick up new pieces of yourself, but also trying to do as the Romans do and blend into your environment. So it was just so many things that I feel like I gained, which was positive, but it was so many things that I feel like I lost as well. Being outside of Chicago, came back to Chicago, and I was just like, yo, okay, I know who I am again. Outside of baseball, outside of everything that I've done in my past life, I was like, okay, I should just be me. You know what I'm saying? And I switched my name to Drew. It was just Drew. Dropped everything, and I was like, this is what I want to
Okay.
stand behind. I was like, all I got to do is become the most famous Drew who ever lived. And I was like, that's easy. That's an
Oh,
easy task.
yeah.
Yeah, and then so I was doing that for a minute, and to wrap it up, um, I started getting more professional opportunities, and I started getting more ingrained in the industry, and I started learning different tactics to, you know, build your own success and carve your own path in this industry. And to do that, you need to have a strong identity. You need to have a strong brand identity. And I'm so fortunate to there's an influencer named Indiana Masara, and I assisted her on a show in Milwaukee. It was like my biggest show at the time. It was my first show over like 1,000 people. I think it was like 4,000 people. Went
No.
to the rave in Milwaukee. I was like 19, just turned 19, performed there, and that was such an eye-opening experience just to see how it looks to be a professional musician and how stuff is ran from a production side, from a just from a scheduling side, rehearsals, everything, right? Sound checks. I'm just like, yo, this is like, I'm so used to just doing open mics at the time. And her mom, I went out there, I killed my part of the show, hopped on one of her remixes.
Okay.
That went amazing. That was like my first moment feeling like a celebrity, and it kind of opened my eyes to like, this is what it could be. You know what I'm saying? This is where you could take it if you continue on this path. So we leaving the show, and she was like, yeah, she was like, you did such a great job, you know, just hyping me up, you know, all the good stuff first. And then she was like, but one thing, she's like, nobody can like find you. She was like, your name is like, she's like, you need to fix your Instagram,
Oh,
make
yeah.
sure your name is first. Like so many things. She's like, your SEO is like
No.
horrible. And I was like, dang, I'm not even thinking about my SEO at the time. I'm just like here for the music.
Right.
She's like, your SEO is horrible. You need to fix that. And then so I went, and I was a little more experienced, you know, with marketing just from, you know, working in the sync space for a little
Yeah.
bit. And I kind of caught that bug, and I wanted to know because I didn't go to college for anything that I've done for music or marketing, and I've been able to find success in both of those spaces. And that's just from me putting my head down and just like
No.
being fanatic about it and obsessing over the ethos behind these two things. And I just put in so much work and so much sweat equity into teaching myself about these two sectors, that, you know, once I picked it up, I kind of broke it down to a science and was like, okay, this is what works for me. And I figured out the SEO part. I figured out, you know, just brand identity. I figured out my sonic brand. I figured out it's so many things regarding branding that I could talk about all day. But I changed the name to Drew the Kiiid. I wanted it to be one eye because my manager, shout out my manager Angel, he always called me the kid from like day
Yeah.
one. Like when we met when I was 18, he found me in a writing camp, and it was always just like, who's that kid? Who's that kid over there?
Yeah.
Like, because I was the youngest person in the room. Everybody's late 20s. I'm like super 18. You know what I'm saying? I'm like just
Yeah.
turned 18.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, who's that kid? Like anybody know who's like representing this kid? And he picked me up just from that because he seen the vision and he had the foresight. And so I was just like, I started saying it's the kid in my song. Like that's became like kind of a signature ad lib, signature tag. And yeah, it just started from that. And I was like, well, I already say it's the kid. And I was like, well, let me just throw that at the
Yeah.
end. But the way I said it too, because the one eye was already taken. And I was like, all right, I need something that's gonna like pop out. It's gonna stand out when
No.
put on black and white. You know what I'm saying? And then so I was like, well, I already said like it's the kid, and I kind of hold that eye out. Sound like three eyes to me. Needed an Instagram handle, so I put that as my Instagram handle first. Once I seen that was available, then I bought the domain and
There
I
you go.
started branding everything around that three eyes. And at first it was such a like a superficial, you know what I'm saying, meaning to where it was just like me just wanting an
Right.
Instagram handle. But it turned into, you know, and I think that's the power of a brand. You start discovering things that you didn't really know but was always there. And I started realizing like, you know, I am a triple threat, you know what I'm saying, when it comes to being an artist, a writer, and producer. You know, that kind of represents the three me's, which is
Yeah.
the three I's, you know what I'm saying? It's
Cool. Okay.
I three times, you know what I'm saying? And it's like then you start looking into like what, you know, the third
Yeah.
eye means,
Yeah.
and kind of having that vision and that foresight that most people don't have. And you know, my intuition saves me a lot to where it's like I feel like I do have that kind of supernatural type of intuition to where it's like I don't really know what I'm doing, but for some reason it's right. Like
No.
like 90% of the time I'm like something in my head, something a higher power than me, whether that's God, whether that's the
Yeah.
universe, whatever you want to call it. I feel like everyone has it. or even just your conscience. It's just like, right from wrong, and don't compromise your integrity, don't compromise your morals and your values. And I feel like that's always been the essentially like another me talking. So it's like, it's like three different sides of me when you talk about so
Yeah,
many different layers behind it. But yeah, it's like a brand that I'm still growing into and I'm still discovering. So I see people talking saying the writing
yeah,
camp. Yeah, man, the writing camp. And I know we're probably going
no,
off
good. You're good.
schedule, but yeah, the writing camp was such a, and we plan to bring these back. Like I want to start doing
Yeah,
these again,
yeah,
because they started off small. Like they started off, it was just the homies. We was working out of a sync studio that was introduced to me by Nick Keenan, who's like my
yeah,
first mentor. And like we would be there after hours. Like this was before I even knew what sync was, before I knew whatever. Like he was head of music at VML, which is like an ad
right,
agency. So he was already in that world, and I didn't know nothing about it, but he kind of never he didn't really like talk about it much, just because it was like he would deal with it all
right.
day. It was like one of those things. This is 9 to 5. Like don't nobody want to leave work and talk about work. You know what I'm saying? So when he was there, it was all about the music, to where it's like
Yeah,
I'm making my personal music. This is music that I care about, not that
right,
other BS that's super commercial, super strategic, and kind of inauthentic,
right.
in the sense of like just one artist to another. Like he wanted to be in that space. So it was like we would be working out of this studio, and it was such a beautiful studio too. I was like, man, like this is not a regular studio, and I knew that from the jump, but I didn't know why it felt like that. And it was because it was owned by an original composition studio called Squeaky Clean, which they're still there on Clark Street. Beautiful studio. And I actually had a chance to intern out of there like later on. There's a bunch of full circle moments
Yeah,
with that studio. And that's kind of like that holds such a special place to me, because it was so many firsts that came from that specific location. But yeah, the writing camp was not even like an official writing camp. It was like the homies linking up, and we was just like, okay, we're gonna work on stuff that we want to work on. And it kind of grew into something bigger once everybody started, figuring out who they
yeah,
were. I started doing sync stuff. It was like, okay, maybe we should formalize this a little
yeah,
more. Then we did one in, where did we do the first one? We did the first one in Nashville, kind of. That was still kind of loose. It was the homies, but it was our first like out of state
yeah.
one.
Doing yeah,
And then we did a bigger one that was more organized in LA,
oh,
and we had a bunch of like heavy hitters come through today.
yeah,
A lot of the people who I'm still close with today,
yeah,
and it was just such a, writing camps are so essential to me, and they don't gotta be these big things either. Like for the people asking about
yeah,
writing camps, they don't gotta be these things that's like, um, produced by publishers or produced by sync houses, or they could literally be you and your closest friends buying some food, you know what I'm saying, and being like, we gonna stay in one specific space, because we were sleeping on the floor in that studio. You know what I'm saying? This studio did not have, it had a couple couches, so we were
yeah,
sleeping on the couches, we were sleeping on the floor, we were sleeping wherever it felt right to keep the energy together.
yeah,
So it's like, if you just get your homies and you kind of like find people who, because that's really all it's about, finding people who have a common goal, a common interest in mind, and being like, yo, like I like the way that y'all create, and I want to collaborate with y'all more. And it's tough to collaborate sometimes, like to be just naturally always collaborating. So if you set out a time, let's say even if it's like a weekend, like let's start small. Let's say it's gonna
right,
be 2-3 days where it's like you can either do Friday through Sunday or Saturday and Sunday, and being like, yo, like let's order some food, let's like have snacks or whatever, and then like let's go out to dinner so we can bond
yeah,
as creatives and as a team, and let's just make music
yeah,
like for 3 days straight. Let's just make as much music as we can. And from those writing camps and those experiences, like, because that was what, 2018, that's 6 years ago
yeah,
pretty much. Like it was the end of 2018, but like, yeah, 5-6 years ago, right? And I still have records that
yeah,
came from that writing camp that are still like prominent records that I'm saving, to where it's like I know that this can be something bigger. You know what I'm saying? You never know what you're gonna make, where you're gonna make it. And then it's like
yeah,
me traveling to LA a lot, as much as I did, I made records that are now on my newest project that I made back in 2019. You know what I'm saying? It's like so many things that music has no expiration date. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, just always being open and trying to create in as many different environments as possible. So not necessarily a writing camp, but like just get out. You know what I'm saying? Get out of your like I got my little setup right here. Like this is where I mostly like make a lot of music, but sometimes you got to break the monotony. You know what I'm saying? You
Yeah.
got to get out and be like, I'm gonna record over here, or I might just go sit in the park and I'm gonna write. You know what I'm saying? So it's so many different things. Um, but yeah, somebody said, "Ooh, you gotta explain the difference between a record and a song." Yeah, it's interchangeable. It's an interchangeable saying because I feel like songs are like songs are stuff you just make with no intention of it going nowhere. And a song can turn into a record, in my opinion. Like that could be something where you like, I'm gonna cut this, I'm gonna make this song, I'm gonna write this song, or I'm gonna record this demo, whatever. Those are songs to where it's like very
Yeah.
preliminary. You're doing it out of the love and the passion of wanting to create, wanting to make music, right?
Yeah.
And then I feel like the record comes in. That's the
The,
buttoned up type
yeah.
term where it's like, all right, I'm finna get this mixed and mastered. I'm finna
Right.
have a rollout plan behind it, and I'm about to go and attempt to make this a recorded piece of art that is going to be in the history books.
Right.
Like that's like for me, like the record was like, this is gonna be on Bill. I want this to be on Billboard. Like it might not get there, but your intention is like, I want this to reach the masses. I want this to be, you know, a record in everybody's memory and everybody's history book. That's what I take from it. But and I take that with a grain of salt. But that's what it is to me.
No. I think
But
that's a good discernment.
yeah, thank you.
That clarifies, right, or at least that gives your philosophy on it for
Yeah.
anyone.
You know, it's so many answers.
Right. No, I liked what you said about it was answering kind of the writing questions, but just having that bond with the people that you're collaborating with. I think
Yes, yes.
for collaboration is something that is difficult, especially if a bunch of creatives getting together. You all have your own ideas, your own intention, but I think having that bond is something that I don't know if it's emphasized as much.
Right, right. And it definitely should be more. Like I feel like but it's not easy. I will say that. And I feel like that's why I've shied away from it because when you developing yourself, like
Right.
I've been in a position of where I'm so grateful for my journey and everything. Like I've been independent since day one. So it's like
Yeah.
I've never had any type of agreements or exclusive agreements outside of like a co-management deal
Yeah.
with anybody. You know what I'm saying? To where it's like I've had to be self-funded. I've had to be everything has been self. It's been
Right.
very a self-involved process, right? And it's just so many things that have come from it to where it's like sometimes you stumble into these opportunities to where it's like, for example, opening up for Lil Durk at the United Center, navigating a brand partnership with the Illinois Lottery, right? That's such a huge
Yeah.
thing to where it's like you're dealing with an ad agency who has all the
Yeah.
resources in the world, staff members who are like specifically dedicated for this account, right? And it's just me and
Right.
my little team, right? And we just trying to navigate and make sure that this goes
Yeah.
the right way. And it's the same thing with collaboration, where it's like sometimes when you want to work with people and y'all have no idea what y'all are doing, it can be a slippery slope because now it's like people are like, yo, like what we doing about the splits? And you like, bro, like I don't even know if this song is gonna get over 100 streams, bro. Like what you talking about splits? Like
It is.
I think we
Right.
need to lock in. But it's, everybody has their own path and their own journey, and
Yeah.
everybody has their own you know, preconceptions to where it's like they coming in with one thing, they like I must act as if and I
Right.
have to be professional, which is great, which is a great mentality to have. But then there's also the other people who are doing it for real and they like, yo, it would be nice for me to just like be able to make some music and like if they a good person, like I consider myself a pretty sound businessman to
Yeah.
where it's like I try to make sure everybody gets they just do every single time, no matter the level.
Right.
And it's like, you know, you kind of just want to come in and create first to see if there's something there. It's kind of like dating. Like I feel like collaborating is like dating. So where it's like, you know, you wanna work on some music, you want to date a little bit, you know what I'm saying? You want to talk before y'all get locked in to where it's like, I don't even know if I'm gonna release this song. I don't know if this song will ever see the light of
Yeah.
day. But it's like if the vibes is right and there's something deeper than just the sonics, something deeper than just the music, then that will push me more to be proud of this record and want to put a whole rollout, everything. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's just a lot that goes into collaborating. And speaking of like the positives of it, like this was my first, like I mentioned before,
Yeah.
this project I'm working on right now, Synthetic, is my first ever, like, this is like my Avengers Endgame. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, this is my first
Right.
ambitious, like, collaborative efforts to where it's like I got, I got Songbird on
Yeah.
there, I got Sunny, I got my homie Mute on there, I
Okay.
got my
Yeah.
homie Kamara on there. And, like, it's all the homies to
Right.
where I got my boy
Yeah.
Mike DFG, and they all like Midwestern talent, like
Yeah.
people who are kind of similar backgrounds to me, and just like so many, it's a lot of alignment. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of alignment, and it's people who I've probably either been wanting to work with for a long time, or people that I know personally. There's just so many different things
Right.
to where it came together, and even with all of that alignment, all of that chemistry, all of that, team building, to where we was actually in the studio making this music, it's like it was still so difficult to coordinate. You know what I'm saying? Just because you gotta account for real life, you gotta account for everybody's schedule. You gotta make sure that you coming in focused. Where it's like you got this amount of many hours in the studio, and you have to make sure that everything is getting executed how it's supposed to be getting executed. So I'm writing out itineraries. I'm trying to get footage. I'm trying to document the process. I'm trying to be the engineer. I'm recording everybody, also recording myself. I'm thinking about the production. I'm like, okay, I hear what they doing. I'm vocal coaching people. I'm doing that. It's like so many
Right.
things to make sure that the product lives up to your standards. Because I have very, very high standards, and I feel like that's what has granted me as many opportunities as I've gotten, just because of my taste level. Is like I try to be. I'm a perfectionist, and even like I shoot for the stars so much to where it's like whenever that opportunity does come to where I have like a full budget, like that's
Yeah.
what I'm geeked for.
Got
Because it's
all.
like I'm gonna make the craziest stuff ever. Like it's gonna be crazy because it's like even now with the limited resources I have, I've
Right.
been able to make stuff that rivals. You know what I'm saying? Like industry people, like even on a lot of my sync placements are self-recorded. Like I get a recording engineer and a recording editor credit on like all of these global
Yeah.
campaigns, that
Yeah.
I'm a part of, because I've recorded these vocals on my own setup and everything. So it's just so many things that can be a handicap to some people, to where it's like this can hinder you, or you can make the most of it to where it's like, okay, I know that my resources are limited, but I'm about to really pop out and do my thing. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's just, yeah, collaboration. You can't force it, but you also can't underestimate it to where it's like you
Right.
don't give it the attention that it deserves. But I would say, yeah, just like dating, that's the best analogy I could think of. Like start slow. You know what I'm saying? Don't rush it. Don't force it. See what comes of it, because it's records that I started working on this project into 2022,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And it was records that I knew I wanted to be on this project,
Yeah.
and I made those records and I got the features on those
Okay.
records, and then fast forward to 2024, I have a whole new mentality, a whole new idea, to where it's like now I want more
Right.
features. I
Yeah.
want this person instead of this person. I want this person instead of this person. So you can't like have a closed mind. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to be very open
Keeping.
to pivot. You know what I'm saying? You got to be able to pivot, and I think that's a big piece of collaboration.
No, that
But
flexibility
yeah.
is also.
Um, my bad. I see somebody saying, "How'd you go about finding the right management?"
Mm.
I didn't. The right management found me. Like I think that's what it was. Go back to that writing camp and go back to everything I've been saying this whole
Right.
time. Just showing up. I showed up to every opportunity I could until like I don't think I met Angel until I probably had to go to that studio like 25 plus times. You know what I'm saying? Like it was probably a year worth of sessions before we
Yeah.
did that camp at the end of the year. And Angel was like, yo, I see what you're doing, and
Yeah.
I know where you can take it, and I believe in you. Let me help you get there. Right. And my manager, Angel, does not have any formal artist management. Like
Okay.
he's never, he's been in the
Right.
music space, like just vicariously, just through
Right.
homies and stuff, but he's never like had an artist that he officially managed. He never went to school for artist management. He never went to school for music business. Like he's a project manager. Like he knows that he can get stuff done.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what it boils down to, is one, having a passion, and actually like believing in the music, you know what I'm saying? Believing in the stuff that I'm making, to where he
Right.
feels like he can stand behind it and put his name on it as well. And then two, just like knowing that he gonna go to bat for me every time. And he's like, our relationship has grown into where he's like my big brother. Like like I don't think I'm closer with um anybody else who's not my family. You know what I'm saying? Like he's
No,
just been he's been so many things to where it's like I would not be doing anything that I'm doing if it wasn't him. So it's like I wouldn't necessarily try to rush and find a manager, but fast forward to today to where it's like now we looking to scale and it's like we need more help, more support to where we have a small team now. And I just had a meeting with my boy Milo.
okay,
My boy Milo is like now he's trying to step in. He has enough skin in the game to where it's like I
okay,
kind of just reached out to him
yeah,
and I seen what he was doing with one of his artists, and it was impressive to me, and it felt like it would be a good fit.
yeah,
And we hop on the phone, and it's like, yo, like we need to cook, we need to work together, and it's just kind of that natural, it's that
right,
mutual agreement of just like, yeah, like I think we could do something
yeah,
together. And then once you hit that level, then it's just about how can you supplement my business? How can you help me grow as a brand, as an artist? But I don't think it starts with that. I think it starts with just
no,
like, do you believe in what I'm doing? Do you believe in what I'm making? Do you believe in what I'm trying to achieve right now outside of the money? Because you're not gonna make and all the artists on here. Let me tell you this. Let me tell you, you're not gonna make no money for a minute, bro. Like you're not gonna make no money off of this for a minute. At least, and when I say money, I mean like, yeah, like you can have your streams, you know what I'm saying? But we know streaming don't pay nothing.
yeah,
And it's like, but I'm talking about money,
right,
like where you start getting like, because you know the main three revenue streams as an artist is sync, merch, touring, and you know your actual like
yeah,
pub and masters and all
yeah,
that stuff. But pub and masters, that's a weird space right now. Just because 9 times out of 10 to make crazy money, your catalog gotta be worth something,
I was about to say,
and you gotta have somebody who's going
yeah,
to buy that catalog and want to be able to deal with that. So I won't even count that, but I'll say the main three is that merch,
yep,
that sync, and them shows, right? And
yeah,
even with shows, all three of those, bro, like you could get a sync placement and like
I,
never get another one for
I
like
was
two
about,
years. You
yeah,
know what I'm saying? You could get you could do a bunch of shows and only sell enough tickets to break even.
exactly,
You
no,
can
mm-hmm.
you can make merch and be in the
Yep,
red until you not. You know what I'm saying? It's always like people gotta be that's and I think that's another thing. That should be another litmus for artists who are trying to do this for real, for real.
yeah,
Are you okay with being in the red for a long time? Like that's the thing. Because if you not, don't do it. Like go play somewhere safe. You know what I'm saying? Like go on the other side of the street
no,
and
yeah,
play in the house. You
right,
know what I'm saying? But like if you really out here, you trying to do it for real, I would say like yo, like have that conversation with yourself,
yeah,
have that conversation with anybody else who's involved, and let like it should be an understanding that like we're gonna be grinding, we're gonna get better, we're gonna put out a lot of fires, we're gonna solve a lot of problems, and we're gonna get over those humps together. We're gonna get over those hurdles. And one day you'll wake up and it just turned around and it's like, oh dang, I made how much? That's crazy. I never thought I'd make that much off of one thing. You know what I'm saying? And then you get another thing and another thing and another thing. So it's so many things to figure
yeah,
out. But when you're looking for the right management, I would say be open minded and always present yourself in the best light as possible because you never know who's watching. It could be somebody who you don't even consider as
right,
a manager or somebody who you think could help you, but they feel like they can. And that's more important than you feeling like they can help you.
right,
Somebody else who believes in your vision because it's damn near like a convoluted dream. Like to be an artist, I feel like you got to be a little delusional to where it's like I feel like I think my music is gonna change the
no,
world, and it may not, you know what I'm saying? But a business is a business to where it's like then it boils down to is this a viable
right,
product? Is this something that, people can get behind, people can rock with, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And then so if you anybody, like that's all, I don't care if it's your mom, I don't care if it's your auntie, I don't care if it's some dude off the street, like anybody who's
right,
just like, yo, I think you got something, say less.
you
Like
listen, right,
see it through. Like because
mm-hmm.
as long as you're not locking yourself in or and you have an understanding to where it's like everything. Like me and Angel, we have not. The only time we've ever had paperwork is when we brought in another party.
Okay,
But me and Angel, we in the 6 years we've been working together, we've
yeah,
never had contracts. Like we've never had paperwork, and it's just been all mutual
yeah,
trust. And it's like that's rare. I'm not saying that's always gonna be the case,
No.
but it's because he has such an unwavering confidence in my ability. And I also gave him that trust to where it's
Yeah.
like, yo, like I trust you. This is my life, so I'm essentially trusting you with my life. I'm trusting you with my career.
Right.
And it's like, finding that person who's just like gonna rally behind you and they're gonna stand up for you and they're gonna protect you. And anytime something is fishy, they're gonna be like, I don't know, you know what I'm saying? But they don't hinder you, and they allow you to grow and make your own mistakes and grow from those mistakes. So, long story short, just just do what you're supposed to do. I mean, especially the person who asked that, Kai, very talented. I feel like you're gonna have plenty of opportunities to where like somebody's gonna be like, yo, this is I gotta rock with this. Hey, that may be me, that may be somebody else, but I'm trying to get to a point to where it's like it's so much talent in Chicago and there's so many people
Yeah.
that I know are raw. Like, Kai being one of them, to where it's like I want to pour back into that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I want to do writing camps, like
Oh,
I mentioned. I
yeah.
want to do. I probably wouldn't do a label, but I do want to do like me and Angel call it artist incubation
Okay.
programs, right? And they essentially like a scaled up version of these writing camps to where
Oh,
it's hyper focused on a specific group of artists, and we basically put them through the boot camp that I put myself through, to where it's like you know these extreme conditions, because I feel like that is what it takes. It takes that extreme pressure
yeah.
to
No.
become an artist that's like not even like a mega star, but
No.
like just somebody who's polished to where it's like, yo, like everybody can mutually agree that they're like that you're good as an artist. Like I remember at one point I was cutting like 3 demos a day. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I did that for like a half a year. Like I was just every day I wake up, I know I'm doing 3 songs. I know I'm doing like my catalog is
I
ridiculous.
was about to
So
say.
um
Yeah.
yeah, and it's like not necessarily forced. Like it's not
No.
forcing anybody to do that. It's kind of like a Montessori style, to where it's like I feel like when you developing an artist, because a lot of people don't focus on artist development, and I feel like I want to bring that culture back. Like you see people like Brent Fayez. Brent Fayez is doing a great job of artist development. Like you see him doing the stuff with Tommy
Yeah.
Richmond and how to grow that. But it's like with me, I want to be able to bring back that work ethic. I want to bring back that. I want to raise that barrier of entry
Right.
to where it's like almost like the military, to where it's like, yo, like only the strong survive. You know
I,
what I'm saying? Like it's
I mean,
I want it to be easier to weed people out. You know what I'm saying? So and I think you do that just by presenting the
yeah.
reality of what it takes to become an artist that's like amazing. You know what I'm saying? So it's just so many things, man. But shout out Kai for asking that for sure.
Thank you. No, thank you. Thank you to people in the comments questions. That yeah, you gave a ton of great information there. You got to be ready. I mean, not a. I think, and I think it's been brought up some of the other stuff done, but there's a slight misconception that maybe being in the music industry or the creative industry is like fun and maybe not quite as like grind. You got to do, it's creative, so you get to
Yeah.
have fun and enjoy. There, there's a lot that goes into it, and a lot of hard work and like
Yeah. No, thank you for saying that. Thank you for bringing that up, because I feel like a lot of people don't talk about that enough.
yeah, no,
To the point to where it's like, me being on so many different sides of creativity, as I would say, what
yeah,
I'm saying? Because it's like, even with my journey of, being in the advertising space,
right,
I started off as a production intern, where it's like I was still doing stuff as a talent, but I had the opportunity to flip that to where it was like, now I'm somebody who's overseeing the talent. You know what I'm saying? So I know what it takes to be the talent and to oversee the talent. And then switching to copywriting from that, it's like sometimes you will have days to where it's like I'm losing my mind, but it's still a creative
yeah,
profession. You know what I'm saying? So it's like more people need to be comfortable. And that's the thing. I think it's all about comfortability. Like more people need to be more comfortable with being uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? And where it's like, there's so many times, like I want to say it's probably, and this will flip, but you got to earn that. I feel like once I do hit that pinnacle to where I got this open budget and I got everything
you,
that I've been working towards. You know what I'm saying? To where it's like it's just unlimited resources.
right,
Then it'll be more fun
yeah,
than work.
I say,
But you got to earn that. But right now in these very crucial early stages, like all these preliminary stages, it should be more work than fun, in my opinion. Like one of my biggest pet peeves, I hate shooting content. I hate making content. Anything regarding content or visual stuff, like Angel, he loves that stuff. He loves like production and all that. I hate it, and and he knows that. But then it's like Angel, he's not necessarily a fan of, you know, making demos all day. You know what I'm saying? He'll
Right,
do it because he loves
right,
music enough.
right. No,
But it's like I that's my thing. You know what I'm saying? I love sitting around. I love
yeah,
writing songs. I love making music.
yeah,
And it's like you got to do the things that you don't want to do. And there's so many things that you probably don't want to do as an artist. You know what I'm saying? But you got to do them, and you have to not only do them, but you have to find some type of comfortability in doing the stuff that you don't want to do. You know what I'm saying? And where it's like now I know that when I make content, I'm gonna try my best to find the silver lining because I know that it's not like I can't
right.
do it. You know what I'm saying? It's like I gotta do it, so I might as well make the most of it. And then the more you do that, the easier it gets, and you start finding these different methods to make it more
Yeah,
appeasing. You know what I'm saying to you? But yeah, I think you hit it on the head. Just it's not fun, you know, but it's fun because the passion is what gets you over the finish line. The passion is what allows you to keep doing it over and over and over and over again until it flips. And now it's like, dang, I done did this so much. Other people think I should be doing it. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying? And like
yeah.
I think that's the transition. And once you got other people and the
Yeah.
masses saying that
Right.
you should keep doing what you're doing,
Mm,
you know you're doing something right. So yeah, it's just more people need to have that conversation with themselves for
no,
sure.
yeah. I think yeah that it's a misunderstood profession. I think sometimes. Um,
Without a doubt.
um,
Without a doubt.
I don't think everyone knows the. But you see the. I mean, the payoff, like you said, passion makes it worth the
Facts.
struggle, the trials and tribulations you got to go through, like riding for. Um, okay,
Without a doubt.
because you've mentioned the project that you're working on now,
Yeah.
and you might not, but you just released Club Steam on the 14th, 12th. I think it
I
went
think it was
went live.
the 12th. Yeah, man, Club Steam. Yeah, that's one of the
So
ones.
is there an upcoming project that we should be looking out for soon?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, synthetic is so we've been doing our rollout. Um this ain't no dance song. I dropped that last year.
yeah,
But it was like I've been working on this project. It's been so, and that's the thing, like when you're independent,
yeah.
you wanna be structured, you wanna be, you know what I'm saying, but everything is everything. You
Oh,
know what I'm saying? So it's like
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so I dropped that last year right before I did the United Center,
Okay.
just to like put something
Yeah.
out before it went on the stage, and it did its thing. So I'm happy we did that. But that's technically the first single, and we reboosted that August. Like we
Yeah.
redid all the creative for it. We
Yeah.
did new cover art. So that was not August. I'm tripping. April. April. We did that. Club Steam came out June. Supposed to come out in May, but it came out June.
Okay.
We did a bunch of creative for that. And then we got two more singles. We got Details coming out this month.
Oh, okay.
That's the third single. And then that's featuring Songbird. Shout out Songbird. And then we got Ain't Gonna Hold You coming out in August.
Oh,
That's featuring Mike DFG. Shout out my boy Mike DFG. And then Project is out September. And we want to do like a whole crazy activation, this big listening
yeah.
party. So I'm looking forward to that. I think that's gonna be really fun. But yeah, synthetic is that's a whole nother beast within itself. That's literally been running my
No,
life
yeah.
since
Yeah.
like the end of last year, and I love it because it's like I'm so immersed in this space. Like I really can't think of nothing else for real. But
Ah,
I'm so immersed in this space. I did all of the branding for it. Like I did all because I do my own graphic design, most of it. Like my logos, all my general assets,
yeah.
I do my own. Like so my logo,
Hey,
and then I got my amazing team to where it's like Raven. Shout out Raven who cooks on every single photo shoot that we do.
okay. Yeah.
And her mind, like she's really like my creative director because her mind is
Yeah.
just crazy. Like she probably just as crazy as me when it comes to like creative. So it's a nice little dynamic.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got two more singles, which I'm excited for.
Okay.
And then Project is out. And then we gotta do. I'm supposed to be doing Lala August 4th, I think. So yeah.